Welcome back to the online sessions on fuzzy logic. In today's session, we will try to end up unit number 3. And in the previous session, we have completed unit number 4. And we're left over with few topics of unit number 3. And we'll try to complete this probably in today's session. And after that, we simply go to the unit number 5. So we have discussed all this already. I just wanted to go through once again with the gist of having a continuity with unit number 3. So we already defined a membership function. So basically a membership function is going to define the amount of fuzziness. So it normally defines the fuzziness in the fuzzy set irrespective of the elements in the set, so which are discrete or continuous in nature. That means the membership function are normally going to speak about the amount of fuzziness. That means it speaks about the belongingness of the fuzzy set that we are talking to you continuously. That is nothing but defining the fuzziness in the fuzzy set irrespective of elements in the set, which are going to be discrete or continuous in nature. The membership functions are generally represented in basically in a graphical form, and we have discussed about various shapes of such graphical membership function representations as triangular waveform, trapezoidal waveform, Gaussian waveform. So these three are the very popular and generalized methods to represent the fuzzy membership functions. So therefore, there are several ways to categorize this fuzziness. In a similar way, there are several ways to graphically construct the membership functions that describe the fuzziness. So there are so many graphical functions that we spoke earlier. So using which we normally going to construct the membership functions that is normally going to describe about the fuzziness. And next, how do we develop such fuzziness or such membership functions? So they are developed by using the available histograms and other probability information can also help in constructing the membership functions. So they are normally developed by using the histograms which are really formed, and also by other probability information really can also help in constructing the membership functions. So here these membership functions can be thought of as a technique to solve empirical problems on the basis of experience rather than knowledge. So here empirical problem means what? A vague problem. That means when you are not sure about certain exact problem, the reasons of the problem, so then you will be searching about reasons of the problem. This could be the reason, that could be the reason, this could be the reason. So all the data, when you really put it at one particular place, so that entire data is simply called as a empirical data. And the problem where the exact reason of problem is not really available to us, so that problem is simply going to be called as an empirical problem for us. So therefore these membership functions can be thought of as a technique to solve such empirical problems. So definitely the answer is going to lie somewhere which falls in the membership function. That is what called the empirical kind of a relationship which you're going to have. But that empirical kind of thing, we are simply making it to be going with respect to some predefined functionality rather than totally random. We are making the randomness or vagueness into a predefined graphical function representation using the membership function notation. That is what the change we are bringing. See, even though we say that we are simply handling with empirical data, but in reality a system cannot really go something like that. So system has to process a particular function. So particular function means it should have certain predefined shape, so it cannot be really random. So therefore we are simply doing what in this fuzzy logic is something like we are simply transforming the empirical problem into a fuzziness problem by simply using the representation called membership function representation. That is what exactly we are doing in the case of the fuzzy logic. Okay, so it is something like already we discussed in the analog communications, that is pre-emphasis and de-emphasis concept. There is an important concept in analog communications known as pre-emphasis and de-emphasis. So what we do in pre-emphasis and de-emphasis is the same thing exactly. In pre-emphasis, we intentionally going to boost the high frequency components of the message signal based on some functionality, maybe called as Gaussian function, maybe in terms of Rayleigh distribution function, or in terms of any other predefined function. So if at all, now by assuming that the error signals are going to get added in that particular shape of that particular function, we intentionally boost those that means we intentionally boost the high frequency components of the message signal in that particular graphical representation. That means in terms of that we normally boost, so that we can simply retrieve or we can simply avoid those errors if the errors are going to get added in that form in the channel. So it becomes very easy for the receiver to simply remove such kind of errors, because anyway that is predefined by the machine, so it can able to understand the same thing by the machine itself, by the system itself, so that it can be simply removed from that particular message signal. So that's what simply happening at the pre-emphasis and de-emphasis. Now same kind of a solution is being provided by using another name known as a fuzzy logic. Fuzzy logic means a vague logic. That means solution for vague logic is normally provided by using the fuzziness concept. So in this fuzziness concept also same thing we are exactly doing. The input is going to be empirical. That means which is somewhat closer to the problem, but not the exact solution, the exact reason of the problem. But somewhere the data in the available congregation of that entire data, somewhere the problem of that the problem of that the somewhere the reason of that problem is going to be there in the data. So that data will be simply drawn in terms of the membership functions. That means I think you're understanding this concept, that is what called, you know, the membership function utilization. That means we are simply converting the empirical data into the form of a membership function, and we are simply saying that we are defining the vague data in terms of a somewhat known data, so that a system can be programmed or designed to process such predefined membership functional representation of the data, which is almost all going to contain the entire empirical data regarding the problem under consideration. So that is what really called a membership function we are introducing here. So there we normally introduce the membership function. Okay. Now how do we define a fuzzy set? So if it is a classical set, we simply define x comma x belongs to capital X. That's it. That is what going to be there for the classical set representation. Now when you really come to the fuzzy set, how do we represent? We have to represent fuzzy set along with the membership function. That means you have to indicate the amount of belongingness, with respect to the value that will be getting on the fuzzy set. So now this is what extra membership function inclusion is going to be there in the system. So that is what we are exactly doing it over here. So therefore, in this equation, if you see this mu a of something x, y, or z, whatever it is called a membership function of the set A. So the membership function maps this x, that is what called universal set or universal of discourse, to membership space M, to some membership space M. Okay, that means it is going to simply map the empirical data which is available to us into the data which is fitting into a graph. That is what exactly we're doing here, so that you can able to design the system to process such known function. Okay, so here we cannot really design any system in the world to process a random signal. That means for any system to process a signal, there should be certain internal design parameters, specifications. Accordingly, the components used inside to process such known signal. That means every system will be only designed to process the known signal. Now in the fuzzy logic, what we're doing is we are simply processing, or we are trying to process an unknown signal. That is what exactly doing here. Okay, so that is what called, even though the data input is vague, but still we are giving a solution to such vague data in the case of the fuzzy logic. But in reality, exactly talking here, we are not exactly doing it. We are simply transforming this vague empirical data into the form of a membership function, and we are processing in turn the membership function, and the results of this also we are giving as a fuzzy set. That is what exactly we are really doing it, and we are just seeing ourselves that to the maximum extent whatever empirical data that we are given is normally going to get covered by this particular membership function. That is what simply going to be called as a membership function representation, or importance of a membership function. Now, what are the values of the membership function? It ranges between 0 and 1, obviously. So the membership function ranges in the interval of 0 to 1. That is, the range of membership function is a subset of the non-negative real numbers whose supremum is finite. That means supremum means what? The ultimate maximum value is what called going to be always finite. It has to be compulsorily a finite value, and it is always going to be a non-negative number. Okay, that is what called a membership function. That means 0 to 1 means what? It is something like going to be like, a probabilistic result, a probabilistic value also you can think of. Okay, so but whatever it is, we are normally generating the membership function or creating a membership function from the given empirical data, from the given fuzzy data. So we are processing this particular membership function in the fuzzy system. That is what exactly we are doing in the case of the fuzzy systems. Now, we have discussed earlier the basic features of the membership functions. So, the basic features of the membership functions are going to be three, which are normally involved in characterizing the membership function. So, these three are going to characterize the membership function called core, boundary, and support. Core, boundary, and support are the characteristics of the membership functions that we are really discussed earlier. So by just seeing this graph, you can easily, by seeing this graph, you can just easily understand what is happening here. So core we can define, that is this mu of x. How can we define this? Mu of x is equal to 1. That is what called core we have. And for this boundary, this mu of x is going to lie between 0 and 1. This is 1 maximum value, this is 0. So this mu of x here is going to lie between 0 and 1 for boundary characteristics. And for support, it is going to be greater than or equal to always 0. So these three we can simply write here as a membership function. See, for core, how we define mu of x is equal to 1. As for the core, we can define. So the support is going to be mu of x greater than 0. Okay. Boundary is going to be mu of x is going to lie between 0 and 1. So these are all the characteristic functions that we have simply discussed. So apart from that, we have various types of fuzzy sets. So they are going to be normal fuzzy set, subnormal fuzzy set, convex and non-convex fuzzy sets. So this is out of syllabus, but still as it is there, I just better these types of fuzzy sets that are there. So what is normal fuzzy set? Now, this is what the maximum value of the membership function. So in this is what the fuzzy set that we have called A, capital A. So at least one value in the fuzzy set, at least one membership value of this fuzzy set A should be equal to 1. If it is so, then it is known as a normal fuzzy set. So therefore, the fuzzy set whose membership function has at least the fuzzy set whose membership function has at least one element x in the universe whose membership value is unity is called the normal fuzzy set. So at least one in the entire fuzzy set, in the entire fuzzy set of say small x, at least one value of its membership function should be equal to 1 for it to be called as a normal fuzzy set. The next fuzzy set is going to be subnormal fuzzy set. So a fuzzy set whose where there is no membership function has its value equal to 1 is called subnormal. What is subnormal? If you see this, this is the fuzzy set A, and no membership function of this particular, no value of membership function of this particular fuzzy set X is really equal to 1 here. So when that is the case, this type of fuzzy sets are known as the subnormal fuzzy sets. The next one is going to be convex, non-convex kind of a fuzzy sets. So convex is going to be something like strictly monotonically increasing or strictly monotonically decreasing. Monotonically increasing means what? It will be simply increasing continuously like this. So strictly monotone decreasing means it should decrease only. That means it should reach to 0. That means strictly monotone increasing means what? It will be seeing only to the top, seeing only to the increasing fashion up to maximum of 1. So that is what called monotonically increasing. Monotonally decreasing means what? It should compulsorily come to the 0 level. That is called monotonically decreasing. If that is the case, that type of fuzzy set is known as a convex fuzzy set. That means a triangular fuzzy set can be simply called as a convex fuzzy set if it is reaching to the whose value is going to be more than the maximum value of the membership function. What is non-convex? Whichever fuzzy set is not convex fuzzy set, it's simply opposite to the convex fuzzy set is going to be the convex fuzzy set for us. So that means here the membership values of the membership function are not strictly monotonically increasing or not strictly monotonically decreasing. That means it is going to lie in between these two. See here it is increasing, but suddenly it has dropped down. It has not went to 0. Suddenly it is increasing. That is what called as a non-convex fuzzy set representation. So these are the various types of the fuzzy sets that we have. Okay. So next is fuzzy set. What is basically fuzzification? Fuzzification is the process of transforming a crisp set to a fuzzy set. It is known as a fuzzification. So here in this fuzzy set, how we represent a set here? Mu by x of I, where this x of I belongs to capital X. That is what called a fuzzy set representation. So here the crisp quantities are converted to the fuzzy quantities in the case of the fuzzy set. So the operation translates accurate crisp values into the linguistic variables. So here in this case, there is another representation of fuzzy set A is equal to mu of I, q of xi. This q of xi is nothing but what is q of xi? It is simply implementing some functionality to convert these crisp values into the fuzzy values. So this type of thing already we have seen in the case of the in the case of the mapping function. We have discussed this in the case of mapping function, x square minus 3 plus 3, some function we have seen in the class. So using that mapping function, we have simply converted values into the fuzzy values. So this is what we normally going to have. That means one set to another set we have converted. That means from one set to another set we have converted using this particular same notation. So in this process of fuzzification, there are two methods of fuzzification called as support fuzzification and grade fuzzification. In the case of support fuzzification, we keep mu I as constant, and we normally going to change the, or we transform the value xi, which is what called the empirical information, or which is what called the the crisp value, to a fuzzy set, to a fuzzy set value. So which is always going to belong in the universe of discourse of the fuzzy set X. Thereby we can write fuzzy set A is equal to mu I q of x1, sorry, mu1 q of x1 plus mu2 q of x2 plus so on up to mu n q of xn. So this is what called as a fuzzy representation. Now this A I can write as equal to A tilde A with A tilt is equal to this I can write, and which says that this is going to be a result of fuzzification process, and this is known as a fuzzified result. Another method we are going to have called as a grade fuzzification method, where xi is kept constant and mu I is expressed as a fuzzy set. So in the previous sessions, when we are discussing about the extension principle in unit number 1, we used this particular support fuzzification method, where we kept mu I constant and we changed the value of x by the process of mapping. So that mapping is known as this q of xi function is known as mapping function, where we have taken that as equal to y is equal to f of x as a mapping function we performed. And that type of fuzzification process once again is something comes under the support fuzzification or S fuzzification process. So this is what fuzzification we dealt in the last sessions, and we are left over with these few topics here in the unit number 3 now. So let us try to go with these simple topics, that is intuition principle, inference, rank of ordering, angular, fuzzy sets. We don't have this in syllabus, we have directly numerical neural networks method. So we have intuition, inference, rank of ordering, and neural networks in the syllabus. So we discuss only these methods from this particular notes. So intuition, what is the meaning of intuition? Intuition purely depends on the common intelligence of human being. That means whatever human being really thinks of with his common sense is what called known as intuition principle. Intuition principle. So if you see, observe this carefully about weight of a particular person. So a person whose weight is going to be less than 20 kgs, he is very lightweight. A person is going to be at the age of 20 to 40. 20 means before 20 we start actually. So that is around 19 we start. So from 19 to 40 it is considered to be a lightweight. Okay. Any person whose weight is going to be around 30, 38 to around nearer to 58 is going to be normal weight. Anybody who's going to be at age of 58 to around 80 is going to be called as heavyweight. Anybody who is going to be more than 80 years, 80 kgs is going to be called as a very heavyweight. So these are all the human intelligence. Based on human intelligence, we normally go into intuition ourselves. That means based on this, if you draw the membership functions like this, then it is simply going to be known as a intuition method of getting into the values of the membership functions. So therefore, intuition method is based upon the common intelligence of human. It is the capacity of human to develop membership functions on the basis of their own intelligence and understanding capacity. Based on that, he is normally going to develop the membership function. That means it is purely based on the understanding level of the human being. Okay, so whatever that he really just understands by seeing it with some basic parameters. So then when you form a membership function, whatever may be the shape of the function, that is immaterial, but some shape should come with based on these all these values when you really put onto the graph. So that membership function is simply going to be called as a intuition method. So that means using this intuition method, we normally going to assign values to the membership function. So therefore, this is going to be one of the method of membership value assignments. So by doing so, we normally going to get the membership function. But that means by assigning all these values after we note down, and if we draw a function based on those values, we normally going to get a graphical representation of the membership function for such a representation, which is what called the intuition principle. And next one is going to be next method is going to be inference method. Inference means what? It is normally performed based on the deductive reasoning. That means membership function is normally going to get drawn based on the deductive reasoning. That means membership function is deduced based on the deductive reasoning method. That means you should infer some values with respect to some functionalities. That means there are going to be many values available to us. Now all these values have been put into some format into some formula. We'll try to put them into some formula based on some boundary conditions. So under those limitations and conditions, we normally going to draw some functionality. That is what called, inference kind of a method. All the functions are normally going to generate the results based on the inference method only in general. It's the same concept we are applying it to the fuzzy logic here. That's it. Nothing more that we'll be having over here. Okay. Now in this inference method, the membership functions may be defined by various shapes such as triangular, trapezoidal, bell-shaped, Gaussian, and so on, which are all going to be predefined functions. So our intention is to define a predefined membership function so that a system can able to process such predefined membership functions from the vague data given as input to the system. Okay, so that is what basically called as inference. Using this inference method, we normally assign values to the membership function. Okay, so this is what one of the thing which we normally going to have. So in this there are certain as I tell you that this inference is totally based on the limitations. What are the limitations that we consider here? Let us suppose we go with the forming a triangle. When you're thinking to form a triangle, how many types of triangles we have? We have isosceles triangle, we have equilateral triangle, we have a right angle triangle, and we have isosceles and right angle triangle, and we have so many other types of the so many other triangles. So we have to come out with certain conditions using which we normally going to draw the triangles. So that means we are simply making some limitations or designing some formulas or designing some functionalities so that we'll get these triangles, right? So let us consider a triangle where this x, y, and z, you may take x, y, z going to be as a, b, c, d, or I, j, k, l, whatever may be the letters you can use it because it is only for conceptual check. We are using the conceptual sake, we are using the letters or the angles taken as an angles. Now here the condition is important here. The x angle should be greater than y angle should be greater than z angle. And when you sum up all these angles, it should be equal to 180 degrees. So this is the constraint that we normally going to have on the triangles that we normally going to generate or form from the empirical data available to us. So here we have certain notations. I stands for isosceles triangle. E is going to stand for equilateral triangle. R is going to stand for the right angle triangle. IR is nothing but the isosceles and right angle triangle. Okay, and T is nothing but the other triangles for us. So the membership values of appropriate isosceles triangles is obtained by using the following definitions. Of course, the x should be greater than or equal to y, should be greater than or equal to z, should be greater than or equal to 0. That means here you can take x, y, and z going to be same. 60, 60, 60 you can take. Okay, that is what minimum thing. That means you say for example, if you take x is equal to 30, y is equal to 60, then it is simply violating the rule here. So therefore you should not take the values of x and y something like that. So by satisfying this relationship, it should satisfy this also. When you sum up all the angles, it should be compulsorily equal to 180 degrees. So that is what the relationship which we can really going to have it here. Okay. Now see this example. I want to take another letters here, and using that I want to explain. Now earlier I have shown you taking the letters as going to be XYZ. Now I have taken here the letters as ABC. It's going to be same. A should be greater than or equal to B, should be greater than or equal to C, should be greater than or equal to C, should be greater than 0 degrees compulsorily. All these things should be greater than 0 degrees compulsorily. And when you add up all these angles, it should be equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so therefore let us start looking into these representations. So we can represent the membership functions with these formulas. What is the formula that I'm writing? If you are writing the membership function for a right angle triangle, mu r, r is for the right angle triangle. Okay, So membership value for right angle triangle it is. So I can write this as mu r of ABCD is equal to 1 minus, if it is right angle triangle, it is 1 minus 1 by 90 of A minus 90 is the formula. Then mu I, that is called isosceles triangle. Second one, mu I of this, what we can write as equal to now ABC. Okay. So mu I of ABC I can write as equal to what? 1 minus 1 by 60 degrees minimum of A minus B, a set of A minus B and another set B minus C. And similarly, equilateral triangle mu of E I can write as equal to mu of E of ABC is equal to 1 minus 1 by 180 degrees AC. That is what called equilateral triangle. In equilateral triangle, all the sides are going to be equal. So therefore, this is the formula which we can write. Right angle triangle means it will be 90 degrees for the two sides. And isosceles triangle means every angle should be 60 degrees. Therefore, I just put a 60 degrees here. So equilateral triangle means what? Put together, I'll be having definitely 180 degrees. So I can put right like this, put the degree as going to be 180 degrees. So therefore, the formula is going to 1 minus 1 by 180 degrees into A minus C. So these are the formulas that I can write. Now, if at all I want to have a membership function represented using the isosceles and right angle triangle, then what we can write? It is the intersection of these two. So intersection of these two means what? Already you have to find, we got the membership function of the isosceles triangle like this. This is the membership function of isosceles triangle, and similarly you're going to have the membership function of the right angle triangle. So here we have to intersect these two. That means minimum of these two will be taken into consideration to form the isosceles and right angle triangle. So this is what the relationship that we can normally going to think of. And T is equal to what we can write now? T is equal to is going to be the other triangle. So which is nothing but is equal to R union I union E complement will be taken as equal to. That means we normally going to use here a De Morgan's kind of a theorem, where individually we can write intersection of complements of intersection of individual elements under consideration. So these are the things which we normally going to have here for other triangles. So this is what how we explain about the assignment of the values to the membership, assigning the membership values to the member functions. Now let us go with the values. Now let us try to substitute the values. Now here A is greater than B. See here, A is greater than B, B is greater than C. That is followed, the rule is followed. Therefore, for membership function rectangle triangle, I can write as equal to what? I substitute in the formula 1 minus 1 by 90, 80 minus 90 is equal to all this. So this I can got as 1 by 9. Similarly, the membership function for isosceles triangle is going to be 1 by 4. Equilateral triangle is also going to be 1 by 4 I got. IR is going to be 3 by 4 I got, and mu T of T is equal to 1 by 4 I got. So this is what the basic representations of the assignments to the fuzzy values. And I was talking to you about intuition also. Intuition, you can take another examples also like cold water, cool water, warm water, hot water. So this is what compared with respect to the temperature under consideration. So you can take any real-time example where based on the human understanding and observations, he is going to really draw the membership functions or develop the membership functions. That is what by using the intuition kind of a principle for us. Then other two methods that we have called rank ordering method and using numerical method we discuss in the next session. Okay, so thank you very much for the today's session. So try to practice this, and if at all you wanted to see with XYZ also, let us go for that also right now with XYZ combination. So same process of deducing relations we are doing it in the case of inference method. See here, this is the isosceles triangle. For isosceles triangle, we are writing 1 minus 1 by 60, minimum of x minus y and y minus z. So this is the formula we are going to use. Now if you substitute x is equal to 120, y is equal to 60 and z is equal to 0, we normally going to get this kind of a relationship. So for this, what is the value we get here? As going to be equal to 0. So the membership value we got as equal to 0 for these things. So the membership value of appropriate right angle triangle is given by this formula. So using this formula also, we normally going to substitute here, where we normally going to get the membership value for right angle triangle. That means if we substitute x is equal to 90, we get 1 here. If we substitute x is equal to 180, if we substitute x is equal to 180 here, we're going to get 0 degrees. Okay. So therefore, these are the various values that we're going to take, we're going to have. Now x could be minus or plus, doesn't matter, because we are taking the absolute value of this. So therefore it really doesn't matter for us. So whatever it is, you have to substitute in the appropriate formulas to get into the values of the membership functions. Okay. Similarly, IR, that is called isosceles and right angle triangle combined, a combination of these two. So this is nothing but the minimum of the membership function of the right angle triangle and membership function of the isosceles triangle. These two we normally going to have the minimum of these two because it is intersection operation. That means we go with the isosceles triangle membership function, we go with the formula for membership function of the right angle triangle, and we simply solve for these two to get into the final value for this. So like this, we normally going to have the relationship over here. Similarly, we go with the total, similarly we go for the other triangle, which is other triangle method, which can be really solved by using this particular simple formula. So using such methodologies, what we are doing exactly, we are simply reducing the value from the given equation, right, in order to get a triangular membership functions. So with this, we'll end up our session today, and next session we'll continue with rank of ordering, and we complete the unit number 3. By thereby we will be completing 4 units. Thank you very much for today's session.